Gauntlet in the arcades was a novelty for me. It was a game that I would used to hear, and then I would have to go and watch people play it. And the iconic voice lines still resonate today with me. That disembodied, bold voice that you can hear, "Green Warrior needs food badly," or "Don't shoot food," or "Save keys to open doors." I can hear that voice in my head, and it automatically triggers memories of walking around in arcades and hearing those voice clips and knowing that I had to watch whoever it was that was playing that game. What's interesting about Gauntlet for me, though, in arcades was, although I love to watch people play it, I didn't really play it myself all that much. Growing up as a relatively poor kid in arcades where I was scrounging around for whatever tokens I could find, I wasn't about to spend those on a game that I really had no shot at playing very well, especially by myself. Gauntlet was definitely played better with multiple players, 2 or 4 players, where you had a chance to go deeper and deeper into the dungeon rather than taking on all of the monsters by yourself. Gauntlet, of course, working on kind of a countdown timer where your health slowly ebbs away, and it ebbs away faster if you're attacked by or struck by monsters. So 1,000 health, especially for a guy like me who's a tank player and has been since the very beginning, does not last very long. My hit points would probably last about 2 minutes, and I would be done. And then I would decide I just wasn't going to put any more tokens on it, and I would walk away. Now, thanks to ports for the NES a little bit later on, I did play the games a little bit more, both Gauntlet and Gauntlet 2. And then, thanks to arcade emulations for the PlayStation with Arcade's Greatest Hits, I would play the games a little bit more. Now, I didn't play them much because there wasn't that overarching story to keep me involved. And to me, at least, the games got a little bit stale, if I'm being honest. Plus, some of the room layouts with some of the puzzles and traps and things, it really wasn't appealing to me. But what I find interesting about Gauntlet is that it seems to be the trigger for hack and slash games that would come later, some which I've really, really enjoyed over the years. The one I always go back to is Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance from Snowblind Studios. That's a game that has that classic Gauntlet-style hack and slash gameplay set in a Dungeons & Dragons world, a truly fantasy setup, and the game is a lot of fun to play through, both that and its sequel. Also, Champions of Norath, which is from the same company, Return to Arms, which is the sequel, Torchlight, Diablo 3, games like that. I can just play and have a ball playing these games. I just lose myself in the action, and I can play however I want. If I want to be that tank character, I can certainly be that tank character and just hack and slash enemies to death, and that's not a big deal. As for Gauntlet, it kind of fell off the face of the map for a little while. After Gauntlet 2, we really didn't see any more games in arcades. We did see Gauntlet 4, which was kind of like a revival of sorts for the Genesis, but that's as good as we got for a long time, until the late 1990s when Gauntlet Legends would reappear, a reboot of the series with better visuals, more 3D visuals. And then we would get Gauntlet Dark Legacy for the PlayStation 2 and for other consoles, which was a home port of Gauntlet Legends with more content. There was one more Gauntlet game before Midway kicked the bucket, unfortunately, just filed for bankruptcy and disappeared from the map. And that is the game that I am happy to be opening on this Midway Monday episode of Unsealed. And I am, of course, talking about Gauntlet 7 Sorrows. At least I believe that's what that says, because I have the big old Circuit City sticker right here. This is, and it even says on the back of the case, get your team together for a fast-paced hack and slash adventure. So it makes no bones about what it is or what it's based on. Midway was very good at bringing back their arcade properties, like Narc with its almost Grand Theft Auto style gameplay, but building on or using the name from the original arcade game. And of course, Midway brought back NFL Blitz, and they brought NHL Hits, which is almost like an NHL Open Ice sequel. So Midway was good at reviving their older franchises that had brought them success and putting them in new settings, like with 7 Sorrows here. So this is the back of the case. It certainly looks cool. I have played this only very briefly. To be honest, I own it. I believe I own it disc only, and I didn't spend a lot of time playing it. Again, Gauntlet has never grabbed me like other hack and slash games have. But when I found this on eBay, I was compelled to get a complete version of the game and open it up for the show and talk about it a little bit more and hopefully find out in the instruction manual what it's all about. So it says here, unite as heroes, fight as warriors, live as legends. As I mentioned, get your team together for a fast-paced hack-and-slash adventure. Now with online co-op, and remember at this time, I believe we're talking 2005 at this point, so this game is 15 years old. Online play for the PlayStation 2 and for the Xbox was a very common thing. That's what people were doing, so that ability to take co-op out of the living room and be able to play with a friend who's not in the same house was certainly an alluring prospect. Online multiplayer action lets you live the adventure online for the first time ever, so again, that is the big appeal here. Hack, slash, and combo your way through fierce battles and spectacular levels. So that's what we have. Again, the Circuit City sticker, so this game was going for $50, which was the going rate for new PlayStation 2 games back in the day. This apparently was at a game store as well because it was marked as $30, and I got it for slightly less than that. I was surprised that this game's value is actually closing in on like $40, which is kind of strange for a Gauntlet game and for a Midway Games title that's not an NBA Jam kind of thing. But when I found this for a pretty decent deal, I of course had to go ahead and snag it. So let's go ahead and try and open this up. I don't have my scissors in here, so I'm hoping that this is not going to be a problem. And it doesn't feel like it's going to be. So let's go ahead. I'll get a little bit closer. There it is, I think. Defeated by plastic. There it is. Alright, so let's take the plastic off. There we go. So this being 2005, we don't have the ID sticker at the top. By this time, we were starting to see fewer of those. But this is a sealed version of the game, so I'm not concerned about this being resealed in any way. When we open up the case, gotta be careful. Oh, that's kind of cool. I like the artwork a lot. So we have the disc right here. We have the manual right here. There's nothing else really in there, so we'll take the manual out and we'll take a look at it together. On the back of the manual, we have an ad for LA Rush. So Midway trying to bring back the Rush series. Unfortunately, this game, well, no. I've actually seen sealed versions of this, and I've thought about it, and then I thought better of it. I think I would be better off spending my money on MTV Pimp My Ride than I would with LA Rush, but that's a conversation for another time. When we open up the manual is unfortunately in black and white. It is not in color. That is not a surprise in 2005. There is a lot of exposition here. I am not going to read the whole story. They try and build on Gauntlet lore. So at least the game is trying to have a story and a setting and trying to give you a reason to go in and hack and slash up whatever monsters you can find. The controls are pretty interesting. The controls are hack and slash, quite literally. There is a hack button, there is a slash button, there's a launch button, and a projectile button. So it seems or it sounds more like a fighting game than it does like an adventure or role-playing game, but that's pretty much what we're seeing here. There's an interact button and a mana blast button as well. There is an entire list of combat moves here. That worries me a little bit. This reminds me of the Aquaman game for the GameCube, which is not very good. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of combinations. I don't know how I feel about that. And that's for each character too. Elves, Valkyries, Warriors, and Wizards. Again, tank characters, so warrior for life. So you can set the difficulty, beginner, normal, difficult, or impossible. Of course, impossible is never really impossible, it's just unfair. You can select your character, and then you're on your way. There is experience. There are lives remaining, which is pretty interesting. In the arcade, you just had an amount of health, and then you could go ahead and recharge that health. But with this being a home game from the ground up, they have to have some kind of limitation. You just can't keep continuing until whenever. You have to add a little bit of challenge to it. So I totally get that. Information here about network settings and about online. I never took my PlayStation 2 online. I still haven't to this very day. online gaming is not really my thing. When we're talking about modern gaming, the subscriptions that I have to PlayStation Plus and Xbox Live and Nintendo Switch Online are really just for the games that are involved in any kind of extras that there might be and any kind of sales that go on, more than playing against anyone online. That's just never been my thing. If I'm playing multiplayer at all, I'm playing with someone in the same room as me, and that's as far as that goes. But in 2005, online was really taking console gaming by storm, especially with the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox video game console. We have more information about our heroes here. The warriors all have names. Athelbrander is the warrior's name. Idane is the elf's name. That sounds about right. Ragnithur is the Valkyrie's name. I always thought the Valkyrie was a cool character, just not for me. And then Maddock is the wizard's name. Have all the different food here: turkey, cheese, and ham, chests, breakables, you name it. If it's a Gauntlet staple, it is definitely here in the game. And then there's some credits here, and this is pretty cool. Sal DeVita is the creative director, which I'm really digging. I did not know that Sal was working on this title, so that makes it worth coming back to for sure. Sal also does the voice for the warrior. Well, there you go. I guess it's just fate that I play this game. I've talked about the fact that I met Sal at Retro World Expo a couple years ago. One of the experiences of a lifetime for me, being such an NBA Jam fan and a Midway fan. So getting to meet Sal was a huge deal. I have a couple of games autographed by him. And seeing him playing such a big role in this game just makes it even more exciting to go back and play. Yeah, he does like a bunch of stuff for this game. That is pretty cool. And there are more credits here. John Romero is cited as a special thanks credit. Let's see, anything else kind of reaching out? Not really, at least not at face value here. There are other studios that Midway worked with: Act 3 Studio, Nikitova LLC. And yeah, that's about it. And then, of course, the dreaded EULA, which would take forever and a year to read, which I'm certainly not going to do. And the Ed, and Eddie Misadventures right there. Ed, and Eddie I never saw. We also have the Midway registration card. Registered.midway.com. Man, I miss Midway. Like, so much. I can't even tell you how much. What systems do you own? So remember, we're in 2005 at this point. So you can choose Game Boy Advance, Nintendo GameCube, Nintendo DS. So the DS had made its debut and was already doing its thing. PlayStation 2, PlayStation Portable, Xbox, Xbox 360. So again, 2005, we're now changing generations, much like we're doing right now between the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One to the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X/X. And PC as well. Which of the following magazines do you read? Love magazines. We have GamePro, EGM, Tips and Tricks, Nintendo Power, PSM, Official Xbox Magazine, Official PlayStation Magazine, PC Gamer. Then we get to the non-gaming related ones: WWE, Spin, Maxim, FHM, Extreme Sports, and Sports Illustrated. Doesn't look like you get any cool prizes here. It's just more register your game and maybe get some cool stuff from Midway sent to your email box, as there is a space for your email address here in the here on the card. So that is a look at Gauntlet 7 Sorrows. I am honestly more excited about this now than I was when I picked it up. Being a Sal DeVita project, I definitely have to check this out and see how it plays. Another episode of Unsealed is in the books. I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed opening it up and talking about my Gauntlet experiences with you. Take care of yourselves and each other, everybody. We'll do another episode of Unsealed real soon, but until then, see you later.